it's easy to pass judgment and harder to ask questions.
Phenomenon. Colding.
Hello, everyone. Hey, welcome back to Life Deceit with me, your girl, Jen Simpson. Guys, welcome back. Thank you for continuing to tuning in. Thank you for liking. Thank you for commenting. And thank you and hello to my new subscribers. How are you guys doing? How is your morning? How is your afternoon? How is your night? Wherever you are in the world, I hope that you're having a beautiful, 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 beautiful day. I hope that you're feeling blessed, phenomenal, and I hope that you've been giving yourself grace. Guys, first of all, I'm so sorry. Last week I didn't do an episode. I'll be honest, I had a guest prepared and we were supposed to do a live, but my guest had other arrangements that she forgot about, which is okay. We got to give grace because sometimes we have so much going on that we forget about things that we booked, we double book, we overbook, and that's okay. So guys, I promise you she'll be on next Tuesday and she's going to be dropping some knowledge, some gems. I cannot wait to share this special guest with you guys. She is a breath of fresh air. She is a woman walking in purpose. She's a woman loving her assignment. She's a woman that's loving on herself. She's a woman that's going to teach us how to really love on ourselves because, like I said before, sometimes we think that we're giving ourselves absolute love, the most love. We're shopping, we're buying ourselves things, we're getting our hair did, we're doing our makeup for the fellas, getting your hair cut, buying those nice outfits, but something's missing on the inside. And my guest is about to tell us what it is or what it could be. So, hello guys, welcome. Today, I really want to say to you guys, everything that's happening on social media has my head spinning. I don't know if it has your head spinning, but we're all spinning like, no way. Oh my gosh. Like literally holding our breaths and freezing. It's like we're in complete chaos, but can't really see it because we're undermining what really is happening right now, especially in society, in the world. What's really happening with our people? What's happening with humans right now? We're really undermining it and saying, oh, it's nothing, it'll blow over. It is a big deal. It is a big deal. Last episode, I was talking about giving grace and extending love. And I used Drake and Kendrick Lamar as a reference because, we see what's happening and we're engaging in it. And I can't say I'm not because I did. For a moment, I engaged in it. I listened to it, guys. I listened to it. It traumatized me, some of the things that they were saying. So we all contributed to it in some way, whether we listened, whether we commented. And if you commented in a positive way and said, this is not it, kudos to you, right? And I found out that they had this 10-year feud. Guys, I don't follow up with drama. I don't follow up with celebrity drama, celebrity feud, rap battles. I don't follow up with it. I love music, and that's all I know. But, the few that I do get to see, not looking so good. And that one was a reference because I noticed that, a lot of things were being said in their music about each other, about pedophilia, who was sexually assaulted, men mining jackets, children that aren't theirs, and traumatic things saying that a friend disrespected the relationship by you guys know what's going on, you guys hear about it. But I said we should give grace and give love because it's so important. We forget that we're humans, right? And we may see somebody do something or look a certain way and we're automatically saying, well, that person's evil, they deserve every bad thing that's coming to them, right? And I just had to do that. I had to talk about that because we have to remember to always try. If we have nothing nice to say, if we don't even understand what's going on, just give love, extend love, and extend grace and pray. Just pray. Just pray for people when you don't even know what's going on or what to say. It's damaging, right? So today, I want to touch on something that, it really, I don't want to say, well, you know what? It did trigger me. It really did. And I worked very hard to heal. And today's topic is about finding the courage to really heal, finding the courage to really come out and share with somebody what you've experienced in your life. Share with somebody what you're going through. Matter of fact, a lot of people wait till after the fact, after they've already went through it, to tell somebody, this is what I went through, this is what I've been going through. So today's episode, I really want to go back to the beginning of when I started the podcast and why I started this podcast. What was my reasoning behind calling it Life Deceit? What was I going through? Why I started it? And it really ties into what's been happening on social media, what we're seeing. The things that we're seeing, we see people comment on and give their opinions, and we are all entitled. Do not forget this. We're all entitled to our own opinions. We are. People may not agree with it. People may not like it, but we're all entitled to it. And it's also okay for us to, maybe later on down the line, we realize, hey, what I said in that moment wasn't right. And now I want to backpedal. And now I really want to know. Now I really want to do my research. Now I really want to make it correct. And I want to apologize to the people that my comments or my opinion could have affected. There ain't nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with backpedaling on what you said. There's nothing wrong with admitting that you made a mistake. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. So a lot of people right now, we are fueled by what's going on in social media. We are re-triggered. So we're saying things and we're doing things and not realizing that, hey, sometimes silence is better than you saying anything at all. So the reason why I really want to touch on this is because it's why I started this, my purpose. And to be honest with you, I didn't even realize that this is what God wanted me to do. I completely blocked it out because I was afraid. I didn't want to. I did not want to. Listen, if there's one thing I'll be honest about, is who I am and what I've been through and the things that I've done. And I didn't want this. I didn't want my purpose. I didn't want my assignment because I was afraid. I said, God, I cannot. It's not for me. It's too much. How am I going to handle this? You're asking me to do too much. You're asking too much of me, not realizing that God already gave me everything I needed to be able to handle my purpose, to move in my purpose, to operate in my purpose to the best of my capability. But I was too busy worrying about, oh my gosh, this person may not like it. Oh my gosh, what is this person going to say? My family, my friends, and then the outside world. I was focused on that instead of thinking about the people that really needed me in their life. No matter how small you think your voice is, or your voice has no value, it does. And that's what I had to realize, is that I had purpose. I was highly valued and I had to learn how to value myself. My voice was powerful. My experience was transformational. And I had to get out of my own head. So recently, we all saw, if you haven't seen it, would I recommend you seeing it? I want to say no, because it's something that you can't even imagine yourself or one of your family members or your children going through, experiencing. But I will say, if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. But watch it when your mind is prepared to watch it. Because if you're not prepared to watch it and you're going through something and you have not healed, it could be damaging to you. So before you watch it, check yourself first. Literally ask yourself, am I prepared to watch something like this? Can I emotionally, mentally, physically handle watching something like this? And what could it potentially do to me? If it's going to potentially do something to you and you know it and you feel it in your gut, do not watch it. And I say this because a lot of times we see things and we don't realize that our mind is still in a still moment. Our mind is still back there, and we still haven't moved on from that thing that was damaging to us years ago, and we still got to do work. And if you go and watch it, it's going to stir up things in you, stir up old things, new feelings, new breakdowns. So there's this video, guys, that's been going around with an icon, a very prominent icon. You guys know him. I always say I don't like speaking on things that I don't know. I don't like calling people's names. But, it's been going around about P. Diddy. And growing up, I love P. Diddy's music. Every step I take, ooh, ooh, every move I love his music. And we cannot deny that. We all have songs that we love by somebody who may have done something that we don't agree with. It breaks our heart to see it. We're disappointed, but I won't take away from the music. Beautiful music. I love it. But the actions of the person, it's not the person, it's their actions that really make us or cause us to dislike the person. And there's this video going around of him and one of his exes, and where he was physically assaulting her. And I so happen to be on Instagram, because when you're on Instagram, you tend to see everything. That's why I told you guys I go on my social media cleanse. I take my social media break because it's important for my mind. I cannot let things drain me, and you cannot let things drain you. It's okay to shut it down, for a couple of hours, a day, 2 days, maybe a week. It's okay. You're not missing on anything. I know that everybody's saying you have to be on social media consistent. You have to be posting. You have to do this. You have to do that. Da, 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 da. But listen, your mental health comes first. Because if you're going to allow yourself to be drained and consumed by social media, by an app that somebody who's now a millionaire made, while your health is depreciating, what are you gaining? You're not gaining anything. You're missing out on a whole lot, which is yourself. So you have to know when to put it down. You have to know when to take a break. You have to know when not to watch that video because your girlfriend or your bro, your friend, your brethren, your family member told you to watch it. Do not engage. You have to know when something's unhealthy for you. And I was scrolling through social media, going through social media, and I saw the video on the Shade Room. I mean, the Shade Room, they did their best to blank out some things so that it wasn't as gruesome. But guys, when I saw it, the first thing that I did was, that was it for me. I didn't have words. I did not have words. But tears came to my eyes. And then I started crying. And some people would be like, oh, why are you crying? It has nothing to do with you. Why are you getting involved? Why are you this way? To see another human, whether it's a male, whether it's a female, be assaulted, and it doesn't matter what they did, what they didn't do, or the reason behind it, is hurtful. If you are a human, if you are a human and you see somebody getting assaulted, physically abused, mentally abused, emotionally abused, and you are not affected, you have to check yourself. You will literally have to check yourself and figure out why. Because we all have emotions. So why is it that seeing that video didn't affect you in any way? Why didn't it affect you emotionally? Why didn't you feel something? Question yourself about that before you start telling people to mind their own business, or why are you affected by it? Most of us are affected by it because we are human first. And we got emotions. Then there's us, people like me, who are affected by it because we've experienced something similar like it. So yes, although we healed, although we went through it, we already passed it, we're still triggered by it. Yes, we are. We're still triggered by it. And when I saw it, I was triggered by it. I was triggered by it for more than one reasons. One, I've been abused like that before. Two, I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. Three, I was too afraid to share it with anybody. Four, look at my four. Raise that up. Four, I was ashamed to say that I experienced that. Five, I blamed myself for all of what I went through. I blamed me. I blamed me. For years, I blamed myself. For years, I blamed myself. And it wasn't until I was an adult, in my late 20s, that I finally released and said it wasn't my fault. I give it back to you because it's on you. I was triggered by it because then we like to run to the comments. Let me see what the comments are saying. I want to read the story. I want to know more, and we have to admit that we do read the comments. We read it, right? And I read some of the comments, and some of them were saying, I need to know more about what happened. I need to more about what she did to cause it. Why did she take the elevator instead of running down the stairs? She knew what she was doing. Why did she stay? Why didn't she leave? She caused it on herself. All these things, all these blame games, And I can speak from my experience, and I could say from a person that's been molested, for a person that's been physically abused, for a person that's been rejected, for a person that didn't know what to do and felt alone and in the dark. It was hard. It was hard. I'm going to speak again about my experience. I spoke about it in a couple of episodes before, but I feel like, honestly, I never got to really dig deep down into what I experienced, because what I experienced and what I healed from and what I overcome is the reason why I started this podcast. Life's Deceit. One, I called my podcast Life's Deceit because we are attached and committed to way too many lies. We are attached to deceptions of life and society and what people want to tell us, and we run with it and we believe it. Even if that's not what it is, we're going to believe it because that's what we're told. As a child, I was told a lot of things that I believed all into my adulthood. For example, my stepfather told me that men only want one thing from me. One. Not two, not three, not four, and not five, but he said one. And he said that one thing was sex. He said once the men get the sex, they will be gone. That's what he told me. And I believed that lie. My stepdad told me once I have a child for a man, there's no guarantee that he will stay with me. So for a very long time, even as an adult, I believed that men only wanted one thing from me, and that was sex. That was a lie that I was committed to, and I chose to stay committed to that lie because somebody who I loved, trusted, told me that, so I believed it. It's not only words that we stay committed to, it's actions. Number two, I saw my mom being in a toxic relationship with my stepdad, consistently fighting, arguing, abuse, police officers at our house every other weekend. physical abuse, him telling her to shut up and expecting her to be silent. Her actions taught me that it's healthy to fight with your partner physically, verbally, mentally, manipulation. And then you guys just make up. And that's it. Her actions taught me it's okay to stay in an abusive relationship because that's a sign that that man loves you. Then the third, I was told not to tell anybody, not to tell a man. If I ever start dating a man and I'm in love with him, never to share with him that I was raped or abused because he will leave me. He'll never want anything to do with me because I'm damaged goods. Number 5, or was that number 4? I said number 4. Because I was abused and I waited so long to tell my story, it means that I wanted it and I caused it on myself. Think about how many times you've probably heard things like that. Is it true? It wasn't true for me. Look at me. It wasn't true for me. I used to hear all the time that if a girl's a stripper, she's no good, she's nasty. How many girls are strippers that you know that just love dancing? And we may not agree with it. That's fine. We may not agree with it, and that is fine. We do not have to agree with it. But how many people have told you that strippers are bad people? They're no good. But they're beautiful, amazing women. We may not agree with their lifestyle. That's for them to choose, and that's for them to know what they want for themselves, and that's for them to heal. And if they need healing, they will come out of it. And if that's just what they chose for their life, then that's between them and God. That's between them and their creator. That has nothing to do with us. Another thing I've heard in especially in the Jamaican culture, that all men cheat. I had to brace myself for that one, guys. That all men cheat. And that every Jamaican man cheats and every Jamaican man has multiple women. So, in saying that, I was taught that it's okay to be with somebody who has multiple women and to accept it because all men are the same. But to my ladies that are listening, you know all men aren't the same. But calling the podcast Life Deceit is really to dissect all of life's lies, all of this deceit that we stay committed to, that we honor, that we continue to live by, that we continue to feed to our children, and all the people that we love. And then in turn, that same deceitful cycle keeps repeating and continuing on instead of breaking them. So life's deceit is there to dissect all those conversations, all those lies, all those stigmas, all those things we went through, and then break those cycles and create new healthy patterns and cycles that we can pass on to our generations because we can do it. It's for us to want to do it and take the initiative to do it because it's not easy. Breaking a generational cycle is not easy. And I went through that. I went through what Cassie went through. I went through what Cassie went through. My first traumatic experience was by my uncle. And that was hard for me to come out to say because I was afraid. You hear all the things people are going to say. Oh, ew, incest, your uncle. Oh my gosh, how could that happen? Why would you let that happen? And I can bravely say now, I didn't let it happen. It happened to me. And I cried out and screamed for protection, but there was none. So I hear a lot of people saying, well, nobody could force you to do anything. Nobody could force you to do what you don't want to do. So how could he have forced you to do this? How could he have forced you to do this? You brought up all these accusations. Girl, that doesn't make any sense. No man could have made me do that. No girl could have made me do that. Listen, first thing I want to say is if you've never experienced it and you've never been put in that position, don't say you would never and don't speak on it either. I was molested and raped by my uncle for a number of years. I didn't realize that when I first went to Jamaica was when it first happened. My first visit to Jamaica when I was 12 years old. I was his prey. I didn't realize it. I was a child. I had no idea. I was like, okay, he said, you're so beautiful. You're so cute. Do you have a boyfriend? Like, is this really my uncle? Why is he asking me if I have a boyfriend? Why is he telling me I'm so cute? He also told me that I was not allowed to have any boyfriend and that he was going to be my boyfriend. I was confused. I didn't get it. I was like, what the hell? And I didn't say anything to anybody. If I replay that whole trip in my head, my aunt always was with me after that. I didn't tell her what happened, but everywhere she went, she brought me with her. If I was in a room by myself, she made sure she came in there and stayed with me or brought me with her. And now when I replay it in my head, and I replayed it in my head after I realized what happened, I went through my healing process. I was like, she was trying to protect me because she knew that he was a predator. Second encounter, I'm not going to go into detail of how it happened, but he started molesting me, raping me, and um, no matter how many times I tried to give, I didn't know how to say it to my mom because I was afraid. I was like, okay, if I say it to her, how is she going to react? Is she going to believe me? Um, how do I explain it? Being a child, and this is what you guys need to realize. You see, children, they try their best to explain things to us. And if we teach them how to have effective, healthy, and positive conversation with us and not be afraid to say things, but to say them the way that they know how to say it and how it comes to them, that will help them to tell us a lot more things. Because I was never taught. I was taught as a child to be silent because every time I would speak, you'd hear shut up, stay in a child's place, right? And I tried very hard to say certain things to her. I tried very hard to express myself. I tried very hard to give her little hints, even if it was her going out and me letting her know, Mom, I want to come with you. I don't want to stay home because I know my brother's going to go outside with his friends and I'm going to be stuck home with him. I didn't want to be home alone with him. I was afraid. I just didn't know how to tell my mom because my mother and I didn't have that relationship. And I don't think that she knew how to have the relationship with me because she never had it with her own mother. So she wasn't able to give me something that she doesn't even know how to give to herself and she never received. And I'm not mad at her for it because now I know better. I know better for my own daughter how to go to her and speak to her and be like, okay, Leia, tell me what's going on. Tell me what's coming to your mind. Anything that's coming to your mind, just tell me. You don't have to think about the words or how to make it sound or, making me understand. Say it and then we'll understand it together. So there's times where I tried to tell her. I tried to give her a hint. I tried to pinch her. I tried to give her clues. She didn't want them. And I knew she didn't want them because she knew something was wrong. Even times where I'd go to her and tell her, he hit me. He punched me. Look at the scratch on me. Look at the bruise. Her question was, what did I do to provoke him? Then her next thing was, she doesn't know who's lying because he's saying that he never touched me. But the visible scars were there, the bruise. You could see it in my eyes that I'm afraid. You could see it in my eyes that I'm distraught, but you chose to ignore it because he's your brother. Then her next thing was, you should respect your uncle. You should listen to your uncle. There was this one time where I told her, he hit me, he punched me in my head. Literally took his fist and punched me in my head. And he said, no, I never did it. She's lying on me. She's lying. She's lying. I never did it. He swore up and down. He swore on the cross that he did not do it. And I'm telling my mom, he did it. And my head was hurting me. And she says, you know, I don't know if it's just Jamaicans or we all have myths that we believe in, you know. My mom, we're Jamaican from Jamaican background. So she had this myth and she said she doesn't know who's lying. So what she's gonna do is put a water in a glass cup and take her ring. And I think it was, I can't remember. You put the ring in the cup, and if tomorrow morning the ring rises to the top, it means either him or me is lying. And I said, okay. And I stopped giving her hints. I knew she didn't want them. And I just kept fighting. I just kept fighting back. Every night he would come into my room, I would just keep fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. And I would make noise, hoping that one of them would hear and come catch him. Then there's another part to it. When I finally told, he still didn't believe. They still protected him. The only person that believed and stood by me was my stepfather, because he always knew that something was wrong. He didn't have hard evidence, but he knew that I wasn't a child to tell lies. And he knew there's no reason for me to always be telling them that he's hitting me, and he wasn't. There wasn't any reason why a grown ass adult would be fighting with a child. He knew. My mom just chose to turn off her ears because she didn't want to deal with it. And I figured she didn't want to deal with it because she went through the same thing that I did, and nobody was there for her. So even when I told, they still didn't believe. Even when I told, they still tried to shut me up because they didn't want to face the truth. Years later, after me telling, and now I'm a grown woman, and my grandma passes away. That's when everybody who heard of it or knew of it is calling me saying they knew it was true. But that's when everybody wants to come out now with their own stories and experiences with that uncle. But when I was going through it, they didn't want to. They didn't want anything to do with me. They wanted to, you know, put me in this ball and ship me away and shut me up and silence me. So when we see those videos, a lot of us have experienced it. We know what it feels like for people not to believe us. So when people are asking the questions, well, why wait till now to come out with it? Why didn't you come out with it earlier? People don't usually come out with it right away because they're afraid. They're afraid. They're upset at themselves. They can't believe it really happened. And they're ashamed. And I've experienced all of those feelings. So I know it took me a while to be able to finally come out and say enough is enough. And usually when we say enough is enough is when something really bad happens and we say, okay, now we have to try harder. And even if that means losing our life, we're going to try really hard to get out of that situation. For me, It was you picking up a knife, my uncle picking up a knife. And because I said no, I stood my ground and I said no. And I fought and I was ready. Like I literally, guys, I was ready. I said, you know what? If that means me taking all the beatings, I will take it. If that means me going to school with my face bloody, I will go to school with my face bloody. If that means me not being able to pick up and move my feet after, then that's fine. But I'm gonna say no. And the reason why I was prepared to take all of that day is because my sister was a baby at the time. And I said no. I said no. And I was serious. That my mom wasn't gonna protect me anytime soon. And I was too afraid to tell my brother. I was going to fight. I was going to fight. That day I made up my mind that I was going to fight. And I did. Because I knew I had it in me. The whole time it was going on, I felt powerless. Like literally powerless. I felt like nobody cared. I was in a dark, dark room. I just wanted my mommy. I just wanted my mom. I wanted my mom. I wanted my mom to care. I wanted her to see that I was in pain. I wanted her to have that motherly instinct. I wanted her to have that motherly feeling. I wanted her to reach out to me. I wanted her to grab me and say, I'm sorry, my daughter. I'm here. But she never did. So I made up my mind and I said, I know that there's a God. I know I have a purpose. I know that this is not it. And I'm going to fight. And my sister was a baby at the time. And I said, I never want my sister to experience this ever. So I'm going to break it at me. And I was that young saying that. And, he picked up the knife and he said he's going to kill me and kill my little sister. And then he'll kill himself. And all I could think of was my little sister. Oh my gosh, she's still a baby. She hasn't lived any life yet. She needs to come out and, she needs to find her purpose. She needs to become this big star. So I kept telling, and to be exact, my sister does make music and she can sing. So I'm waiting for her to reach stardom. But I said, no. You could take my life, but you're not taking my little sister's life. And I knew if I fought, he would see that I'm serious. I knew if I fought, hopefully something would come out of it. And it did. So I found that courage to finally tell after going through that for so long, getting beatings, having a rope, skipping rope around my neck and choked and punched and all these things. I knew that enough was enough. And I don't know, something just clicked that morning. And I had to fight. And, you see a lot of people asking, well, why are all these ladies coming out now? Why didn't they come out years later? It takes people a long time. Sometimes it will take people years, like I mean years, 20, 30 years to come out because they didn't start their healing process. Look at this book. It's titled The Courage to Heal, a guide for women survivors of child sexual abuse. Now listen, although this book says it's a guide for women survivors that experience child sexual abuse, this book is not just for that. If you ever want to get this book, please do. Because this is why people don't tell right away. The courage to heal. If they don't have the courage to heal, if they don't have somebody that will help them on their journey to heal, they don't start coming out and telling anything. Because they have to find the courage to heal first and then tell themselves what they went through. Because we're in denial about what we went through. Even now, I'm telling you about what I went through. And I can't believe that's me because the Janelle Simpson now, the Jen Simpson now is different. I am different. those things wouldn't take place with the version of me that I am now. If I was this version when this was happening to me 15, 20 years ago, 30, it wouldn't go that way. But you know what? I'm glad that I am this version now because my daughter, whoo, it's gonna be. I have found the courage to heal and found my own voice and strength. And I poured into my child that she's more powerful than I am. Both my kids, my son and my daughter, they're more powerful than me. So if anybody was to try what they did, what my uncle did with me, they wouldn't. And that's the thing. The courage to heal. We have to find the courage to heal first. And that's what a lot of these women, these men are going through. They didn't have that courage before. They were still going through their healing process for a whole 5, 10, how many years it took them. Because people think that healing is easy. It's not easy. It's like a wound that we don't allow to heal properly. It will get infected. I have actually, I'll tell you, I have a scar on my stomach, like a little scar on my stomach because, quick story, friend's birthday party, was getting ready, washing up the dishes, and the plate dropped from my hand, hit the counter, which is marble, broke, and a piece of the plate sliced me on my stomach. Because I didn't think the cut was that deep, I didn't go to the hospital and get stitches. I just hoped that it was going to heal by itself. But the wound was deep enough that I needed to get stitches. That happened almost 4 years ago. Today, this scar still hurts sometimes because it was never healed properly. So think of it as a human being. If you don't heal the things that you've went through, they're going to still hurt you. They're going to still bother you. Even when you're trying to cover it up by saying, you know what, it happened, I'm moving on with my life. Sorry, guys. It happened, I'm moving on with my life. I'm just going to keep living. It doesn't work like that. You can't keep living until you heal the trauma, the things that you went through. And a lot of people try that. They try to move on with their life. They try to cover it up. They try to mask it with makeup. They try to mask it with friends. They try to mask it with hair. They try to mask it with outfits. They try to mask it with luxury things, not realizing that you have to deal with the root of it. This will take you years to come out. But when you find the courage to heal, you face what you went through. And that's coming out. A lot of people are going to say, and they have been saying, is, well, why wait till this person said it? Because that person gave that person wings to be able to tell it. That person gave that person some type of inspiration, courage, and activation to say, oh my gosh, you just gave me room to share my story. Because for the last 10 years, I've been battling depression. For the last 10 years, I've been suicidal. For the last 10 years, I have not worked. For the last 10 years, I've been sick. For the last 10 years, I've been on my knees not making any money. Now, I understand that people are saying, the money part. Why are you taking money then? I used to say that. I used to say the same thing. And I'll be honest, I went through it. I'm a survivor. I'm a thriver. Why take the money? But we don't know what they went through to heal. We don't know if they emptied out their bank account to go to therapy. We don't know if they've never worked a day in their life and they're living off of their savings or somebody's helping them. We don't know. So I don't want to speak on the money aspects. But I know the statute of limitation has passed for a lot of people. So criminally, they cannot charge certain persons who have hurt them in life. That's one thing that I know. The money thing, that's between them. And, people are entitled to do what they feel is best for them. People are entitled to do what they need for themselves. And we got to really just stop. Just stop. You've never experienced it. How do you know so much about it to speak on it? Listen, I'll give you an example about that. When my grandma passed away, is when everybody started talking about my book. My book. You guys, I don't have it with me right now because it's in my closet. I have so many of them. But look it up. It's called Commitment to a Deceitful Liar by me, Janelle Simpson. And that was my first book that I wrote. My first novel. To It's supposed to be series 3. I haven't published book number 2 yet, but it's coming soon. It talks about, migrating from Jamaica to Canada and a different lifestyle, being raised with a stepfather, watching domestic violence and trauma within my household, being separated from my father, and how that affected my life and me choosing a partner. Talks about me being raped and molested. Talks about how, the family, my Jamaican family, dealt with it, how much they tried to silence me. Talks about a lot of various topics and, you know, um, toxic generational cycles that I've broken. But when my grandma passed away, that's when everybody started talking about my book. Everybody wanted to attack me about my book. Everybody wanted to know if it was true. Everybody started coming with new information saying, I knew it was true. I'm sorry I wasn't there for you, blah, 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 blah. In the beginning, when people started attacking me about my book, which has the book, it's a small portion about my uncle and about my trauma, but it's a bigger picture, and they don't even realize that. The book is more so about being able and creating safe spaces for us to talk about our experiences and things that we went through, and then breaking those generational cycles. It's a bigger picture. It has nothing to do with just that experience, because I've experienced a lot in my life. But when I felt the attacks coming about my book, and I was afraid, I was afraid. I was like, oh my God, are they going to kill me? Are they going to beat me up? What are they going to do to me? What if I'm sleeping in my house and they just come and start to attack me? What if I'm on the road and, they send people to try to hurt me? A whole bunch of things were going through my mind. A whole bunch of things. And the first thing that came to my mind was trying to find a way to pull my books from all the online bookstores and any bookshelves that is on. I wanted to find a way to destroy the book because I was afraid. I didn't want the attacks to come. I thought about that. And it took my partner to say to me, are you crazy? Yeah, he's like, go back in your phone and look how many people text you, how many people called you and said thank you for telling your story, because they went through the same thing, but they weren't sure who went through it and if it was okay for them to talk about, because they were afraid and ashamed. How do they tell people that they went through that? And he had to fuel me up with his word and remind me of the reason and why I did it. Remind me. So we always need somebody in our corner to push us to the well sometimes. And even if there's somebody not there, we got to find some type of inspiration to push our own selves to that well to start our healing process. It's not an easy one. It's not an easy one. So we see things going on social media. We want to pass our judgments. But if you don't know, then don't say nothing, right? And, I picked up this book and I wanted to share it with you guys because this is what it is. It talks about the courage to heal. And we are too nonchalant about this word heal. If you can't heal, you won't move. It will look like you're healed. It will look like you're moving, but you're not moving at all. It will look like things are working for you, but things are not really working and functioning the way that they should be functioning in your life. And I just want to share this one with you guys. It says, believe it happened. Believing it happened. And I want to read a little bit for you guys. Just give you a little taste of it. If you ever want to get the book again, it's by Ellen Bass and Laura Davis, The Courage to Heal. Believing it happened. Did it really happen? I'd like to tell you no. I'd like to deny it, but I just can't do that. I've always had flashbacks. I've always seen bits and pieces of what happened. It was terrifying. I'd break into a sweat in the middle of sex. Sometimes even just taking a shower and washing my body. The revolution was so strong. I'd have to hold onto the wall, but I didn't want to put it all together. I didn't want to know the story. It took me years to believe it happened. And although I'm healing now and life is better, there are times I wish I could go back to my denial that I had a happy family and parents who protected me. I'm going to read that last part again. It took me years to believe it happened. And although I'm healing now and life is better, there are times I wish I could go back to my denial that I had a happy family and parents who protected me. Now, remember I said it takes years. It takes years to heal. And then it takes years to move out of denial. It takes years to get off your own head where you're trying to convince yourself, did that really happen to me? Did I really let that happen? It's a process. The whole thing is a process. Getting out, releasing it, denial, acceptance, acknowledging, agreeing. And forgiving self. Forgiving self is another beginning stages, because now you're in your head saying, how could you let that happen to you? You've always been that bad. You've always been that one that's advocating for everybody. You've always been the one that's supporting everybody. You've always been the one to tell people not to tolerate certain things. So how did you let that happen to yourself? That was me. Literally tearing myself down because I was always supporting my friends and saying, you know what? And none of them knew what I was going through. Not one of them. So when you see a lot of people that are coming out now saying they didn't know that she was going through this, they didn't know Cassie was going through this, because you don't want to tell your friends and family because you're ashamed, you're in denial, you cannot believe that you let this happen to yourself. You don't want them to worry about you. You don't even know how to form it into proper words. That's that denial. That's that denial that's reeking in you. And the whole healing stage is another. It's a whole thing you have to go through. And sometimes that healing process takes years, because let me tell you something. You heard it. I said it. She said it even during sex. She had a hard time. Because that's another part where your body has to heal. Even though you have this perfect life and everything's going well for you, you still have to face yourself. You still have to go through that process with your inner self. And you have to allow yourself to go through it even when it's painful. For example, I didn't talk about it with anybody. Not a friend, not an aunt, not an uncle, nobody. Not a counselor, nobody. Once I told and said this was happening to me and he left, my mom never got me a counselor, nothing. She just started treating me like shit, calling me names, telling me I wasn't going to amount to anything. But look at me now. And, you know, it took me a while. When I found a boyfriend, I just forgot all about it, went out of my brain. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Kept living life, going to work, having children, not thinking about it. It happened, that's it. I don't need to deal with it. Then I didn't realize that what I went through was the reason why I wasn't able to form healthy relationships with friends and my partner. I wasn't able to be open because I figured if I was open with you, I don't know what your response is going to be. It could be rejection, just like my mother rejected me when I told her. So I was always struggling in life, emotionally and mentally, and I didn't realize it because I was too busy thinking I'm living a decent life. I'm making money. I got friends around me. I got people. I got a nice car. I got this. I got that. I forgot about me because I didn't want to face me. I didn't want to be honest to myself and say, yes, you went through that. Yes, you allowed yourself to go through that, but it's not my fault. It's not my fault. I didn't let myself go through those things. And that was hard. I struggled with it for years. Now that I'm fully healed, I'm able to be open more sexually, honest with my partner. We have honest conversations, healthy conversations. I feel good that I'm able to do that because I allowed myself to heal. So while we're asking all these questions, why? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why did you take so long? How about you try something new? Research. Ask questions. Go to somebody who's experienced abuse. Doesn't matter what type of abuse. It could be physical, a mental, sexual, whatever it is. Some type of abuse or trauma. Ask them, what did you go through? How was it mentally for you? How did you mentally process it? You masked it for so long with everybody. How did you find the courage to even do that? Like, why? Like, ask questions instead of passing judgment. It's easy to pass judgment and harder to ask questions. I'm realizing that. And don't be the reason why people break down, and don't face their experiences and heal. If you know somebody is going through something, be that person that supports them wholeheartedly, even if you don't understand their experiences, even if you don't understand what they're going through, what they're feeling. Be that support. Just be that emotional support. You don't tell them, I will go with you. Even if it's me sitting outside and waiting till you're done your session, I will come with you to therapy. I will help you find a therapist that is right for you, a counselor, resources that can help you, support groups. Because it's hard. It's not easy. There are stages. It's like growing a plant. Look at my plant. Can you guys see that? It's brown. I didn't care for it that well. I mean, I thought I was. I gave it some water, but it's still dying on me. I mean, it's still holding on strong, but it's brown. So if you guys have any tips about my brown plants, let me know. I saw some videos about spraying bleach on it. I don't want my room smelling like bleach, that's for sure. So I won't be pouring bleach on it, spraying bleach on it. But if you have any tips, let me know. But it's like a plant, a garden. You're growing vegetables, you have to care for it. There's certain things that you have to do for your vegetables to grow. There's certain things you have to do for your plants to remain healthy and grow healthy, grow new healthy green branches, whatever color they are. That's what healing is. We have to be able to face ourselves first before we can face the world. And I want anybody who's experienced trauma, abuse, that's still experiencing it, that's still healing from it, that already healed from it. Take the time, check in with yourself, and see how you're doing. It's a long road. And I know that for sure because I've gone through that road. Physical abuse is, guys, seriously. I've 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 taken time to really realize that I'm loved, I'm valued, I'm gorgeous, I'm beautiful, I'm sweet, I'm funny, I'm smart, I'm intelligent, and I did not deserve any of that. To really love myself and now set boundaries. What I want, what I don't want. And, being a child and being abused physically, emotionally, and sexually, you go through different emotions. And it's hard because it was hard for me to be in a relationship. It was hard. Every time, I would see him just raise his hand like this, I was afraid. I'm like, oh my God, you're going to hit me because of what I went through. I know people probably question it now. Okay, well, why didn't you just tell your mom? That's the reason why I didn't tell her, because I tried to give her hints. She didn't take the hints. Even when I was telling her directly things were happening to me, she still never listened to me. And then the ultimate was me finally telling, and then you neglecting and rejecting me for your family. So it's hard, guys. And I know it's hard for some of you guys who haven't experienced it and you guys are just seeing it and watching it and hearing about it. It's hard for you to understand. And you know what? If you don't understand, take the time to talk to somebody. Do your research. Get books, read books, buy books about these things, buy books about domestic violence, buy books about being sexually abused, buy a book for a friend uh, that that has gone through it or that is going through their process of healing still. Sorry, and even if they're not, still check in on them because that video was triggering. That video triggered a lot of us because we're like, "Who, baby? We are changed people now." But if you are my friend and you were going through that, I'd come and bust a cap up in that person's head. But we're changed. We're changed people, and it still triggers you. It's still alarming. It's still concerning. So check in on people. I'm checking on yourself. I pray that anybody that is going through this, that you guys find the courage to reach out to somebody. And don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed. You have nothing to be ashamed of. And even if you tell somebody and they make you feel ashamed, they make you feel dirty, they make you feel like a fool, that's on them. It's not on you. Leave them where they're at and move on to somebody else that you know that you can reach out to. There are plenty of resources that you guys can reach out to if you're going through something similar to this. I'm going to leave some of those resources in the caption that you guys can reach out to. I'm also going to leave the details of this book because I feel like this book is for anybody, just for you to understand what the courage to heal mean. What does it mean? It means really loving yourself and saying, you know what, I need to heal. And I'm doing it for me, not for anybody else. And first, when you tell yourself that you're doing it for yourself first, then you're now doing it for everybody else. Because if you don't have the courage to heal, then you become this thing that nobody can connect with, this thing that nobody can vibe with, this thing that nobody can touch emotionally. So when you find the courage to heal for yourself, you find the courage to heal from for your loved ones, for your future family, for your children if you choose to have any, and if you don't, just for people that will look up to you and love you. I really wanted to dissect that a little bit. I didn't really get to dissect it too much, but I'm going to have a part two about this because there's so much more that I do want to talk to you guys about when it comes to this. I'm going to have a special guest um, who's going to dissect it with me about being, um, a person or a survivor, a thriver of domestic violence. Um, Not just domestic violence, but being sexually abused mentally, emotionally. And, it's important for us now to pay attention and understand it and understand it from the victim, survivor, the thriver, and the abuser's perspective. Because we all have kids, we all have loved ones, we all have people that we care about. And I find that when we understand it more, we're able to help. We're able to be a source for other people when we understand it. When we don't understand it, we're just passing judgments and asking questions just because we're trying to be like, oh, well, how? Why? I don't get it. When you find that courage for your own self to understand it for somebody else who's experienced it, it's a whole different type of support that you're giving to people. So, guys, today, whew, don't think I'm crying because I'm hurt, because I'm not. I'm crying because, or I cried because I feel good. I survived and thrived through something I didn't know if I could, but I knew that I had to. Um, I beat all odds. Terrible things that my mother said about me, I beat all of them. And I'm continuing to beat them. Um, I'm happy. I'm happy that I survived, I thrived, and I'm alive and I'm present. And I'm still able to give other people the courage to acknowledge themselves and heal for themselves. I am happy that God gave me this calling because it's big, but it's fulfilling. It is so rewarding when I get to see other people heal and talk about the things that they went through and use their story to help transform other people's lives. So I feel good. And I just want to say it's not easy believing people when you hear things, because when we see certain people, whether it's a celebrity, whether it's a friend, whether it's a family member, whether it's a colleague or just somebody we know of, we see them in a certain light. It's hard for us to see them in a different light. It's hard for you to see them in that light as an evil person when all you know this person to be is caring, supportive, loving, kind, giving. It's hard. But don't shut people out that are trying to tell you something because you don't want to see that person that light. Everybody has the potential to do something. Everybody has done something in the past that they're not proud of. And I will say that not only the victim, the survivor, the thriver needs support, but the abuser needs support, because I find that a lot of people who are the abusers, they got a lot of demons. They have a lot of trauma too that they've never healed from. They have a lot of things that they're battling through that, they're also ashamed and afraid to tell anybody that they need to work on, and that they need help and they need therapy and they need um, support on. They're afraid to tell people that. And, you know, as much as we want to say, oh, we hate that person, don't support him, don't support her, look at what she did to X, Y, and Z, they all need support. We're humans, and unfortunately, we do some terrible things sometimes. We're not proud of it, we don't love it, but offer support in any way you can. Reach out to your friends and families, people that you may know. Even if you know of somebody that is an abuser who has done some terrible things that they're not proud of, reach out to them, be that support, because a lot of times they need somebody to fuel them up too. They need somebody to give them the courage to also heal, to also admit, and to also change. So I don't believe in turning your backs onto anybody. I don't believe in just saying, oh, well, I'm not going to deal with you anymore because look at where you are. Look at what you did. All these things that are coming out about you. You do not have to defend anybody's name. You do not have to join this bandwagon of saying, no, they didn't do it. Yes, they did. All you have to be is that supporting voice that you were for them. Be a brother, be a sister, be an aunt, be an uncle, be whoever you are to them, and just love them and give them grace and pray for them and support them and help them help them to get the help that they need. Help them to want to start their healing process. They're accepting them taking accountability for what they did. Help them on that journey because it's not an easy road. Healing for somebody who's been abused or, whatever they've gone through is one thing. But somebody who's been trying to fight a demon, trying to fight something that they're struggling with is also hard, and we cannot deny that. Some people were born in abusive households, and unfortunately, they became the abuser. We may not agree with it, but people have stories. People have gone through things. People have seen things. And unfortunately, they become the demon, the abuser, the person that they never thought that they would become. Although they've tried to fight it, they've tried to fight the urges. They do it. And they need you. So don't turn your back on anybody because you heard that they did something. Be that support because you may be that person that they need to pull them out of that dark place. You will be that person that they need to give them the strength and the courage and the heart and the mind and the soul and the spirit to want to change. The courage to go out there and ask other people for forgiveness from what they did. You will be that person. Don't just turn your back on your brother, your sister, your aunts, your uncles, whoever they are. If you were there for them before you knew what they did, I'm not saying that you have to agree. You don't have to agree with what they did. But still stand by them in the way where you can and you're capable of, where you're mentally and emotional, where you're capable emotionally and mentally and physically able to be there for them and help them along their healing journey because they need help too. People don't just wake up and decide to be evil and decide to start being abusers. Most of the time something happened and we can help them. I've seen people who change who were abusers and they change, and some people want to hold on to that and say, no, this is what you did in the past, but that's not who they are anymore. So with that being said, guys, we are still extending love. We're still extending grace. We're still giving love, and we're still giving grace. We see what's going on. We see the things in the social media, and we can do better. We are better. Think about the times that you've gone through something, and if it wasn't for that one person, that one voice that helped you out, would you be where you are today? Think about it that way. Because I know I wouldn't. I thank God for the people that He sent my way to help me and push me through and get out of my own head. That helped me find strength, courage, faith, confidence to be who I am. Jen Simpson, hosting, the founder of the Life Deceit podcast. Guys, enjoy the rest of your morning, your afternoon, your night, wherever you are in the world. Sunshine, rain, woo! Enjoy the rest of your week. I pray that you guys continue to love yourself first, give yourself grace, and have the courage to give somebody the same, even if you don't agree with what they did or what they're doing. Give them that and pray for their change. Until next time, I'm Jen Simpson, Love you guys.
Phenomenal. Cold ink.